Admiral Krex of the Varnok Alliance had destroyed countless colonies, conquered over 50 worlds, and watched entire species fall beneath the methodical thunder of orbital bombardments. And yet none of that prepared him for the silence that followed the destruction of New Brimstone. It had been routine. Another Terran expansion colony set up in violation of the Galactic Authority's territorial edicts, lightly defended, no major fleet presence, a few outdated kinetic cannons, and a laughable planetary shield that fell before even their preliminary volley. But what stood out was the message they'd received before the operation began. Just a single line of Terran script in reply to their demand for surrender. Noted. Proceed at your own risk. Krex had laughed at the time, mandibles clicking in amusement as he watched the words fade from the holographic projector, interpreting it as one final act of bravado from a species known for its stubborn pride and foolish courage. And so he gave the order. Plasma batteries charged, targeting systems locked on, and with clinical precision, the colony was annihilated in a single synchronized strike from orbit. He watched the feed as the landscape cracked open, as fire and debris blossomed where a settlement once stood. No shields, no defenses, no retaliation. It was over in seconds, and the scanners confirmed no remaining life signs. Krex had already begun composing a report to High Command when the sensors blinked. Not flared, not sounded an alarm. Just blinked. Then everything froze. Every sensor display in the control chamber glitched simultaneously, then rebooted one by one, showing an image that did not match any known contact code. There was no warp signature, no transit alert, no declaration of presence. But now, surrounding their cruiser, were 17 black, angular vessels, motionless in space. They had no running lights, no visible weapons, no markings. They weren't transmitting. They weren't moving. They were simply there. Krex's internal heat glands activated involuntarily. "Report," he barked. "What ships are those?" No one answered at first. The silence grew heavy. Finally, the comms officer whispered. There was no approach vector, no jump trail. They just appeared. Krex's throat clicked. Open a channel. Identify them. The comms officer hesitated. No response, Admiral. They are jamming. No, not jamming, nulling all frequencies. The tactical officer hissed, claws trembling over the interface. Sir, designation code just auto-loaded. The lead ship, it's designated UNSC Dread Harvester. Krex paused. The name sent an ancient tingle through his spinal ridge. He remembered intelligence reports, dismissed as Terran propaganda, about black ships with mythic reputations. Ships that didn't follow galactic physics. Ships that didn't exist until you were already dead. Target all weapons, Krex ordered. Form defensive shell. Prepare for combat. Weapon unresponsive, the weapons officer said. I'm locked out. A hum began. Deep, subaudible. Not through the comms, but through the hull itself. It wasn't vibration. It was something lower than vibration. Something primal. Something that made Krex feel like he was standing in the shadow of a star about to go nova. Then the port side wing of the cruiser vanished. Not exploded. Not sheared off. It was just gone. As if the universe forgot it had existed. No debris. No melting. No reaction. One moment it was there. The next it wasn't. Emergency stabilizers failed. Internal gravity shifted. Crew screamed. Krex gripped the railing as the lights dimmed. The enemy ship still hadn't moved. No weapons fire. No shield flare. No threats. Just that low hum and the silence of inevitability. Fire, he roared. Do something. Plasma lances fired blindly into space, guided by outdated targeting systems and guesswork. A few beams connected, then passed harmlessly through one of the black ships as if it were made of shadow. No effect. No shields. No return fire. Then came the second cut. The primary engine core ceased existing. Not detonated. Not disabled. Simply absent. Krex floated as artificial gravity failed completely. Sparks filled the air. One of the bridge officers started screaming in static, his comm implant glitching into his skull. Krex turned back to the main display and froze. A single line of Terran text appeared across every screen. This is what we call overkill. Krex's body went cold. He had studied humans. He had read their military history. He had laughed at their brutality, at their overcommitment to ancient doctrines of mutually assured destruction, their penchant for overwhelming force even when it wasn't necessary. But this wasn't overwhelming force. This was something else. The command center dimmed. Emergency systems clicked in, and still, the black ships hung motionless, orbiting them like wolves around a wounded beast, not attacking, not communicating, simply present. A light flared on one of the lower decks. Fire. Atmospheric breach. But no alarms. Even the warning systems were failing. Krex tried activating internal defense drones. None responded. He tried opening an escape pod. Locked. His own ship was turning against him. Or rather, the humans had taken everything from them without touching them. Send surrender signal, he rasped. The comms officer didn't move. I said, "We can't, Admiral." The officer interrupted. "There's nothing to send with." Static rippled across the walls. The crew began floating in darkness. One of the junior officers began praying, not to the Varnok gods, but in broken Terran English. "Forgive us! Forgive us! Forgive us!" Krex's vision dimmed. He turned toward the tactical display for one last look. The dread harvester had moved, just a few meters, enough to let them know it could. The cruiser's lights went out. Silence. The crew floating, breathing through recycled CO2 as the last of the atmosphere thinned. No one had been killed. No weapons had fired. The ship remained whole, physically, but it had been unmade, not destroyed, not attacked, defeated without battle. One by one, crew members lost consciousness. Emergency batteries kicked in just before brain death, barely enough to sustain life. Hours passed. No human vessels returned. They didn't take prisoners. They didn't finish the kill. They didn't need to. They had sent a message. And when High Command finally found the Varnok cruiser adrift, frozen, oxygen-starved, its systems hollowed out like a corpse with no scars, they recovered Krex's personal log, scrawled by hand, the only functioning method he had left. Do not engage humanity. Not now. Not ever. What they call overkill is mercy. He repeated the phrase over and over, in multiple dialects, on the walls of the command deck, carved with a broken tool. A warning. A final plea. Earth didn't apply to any of the Varnok's messages. It didn't issue demands. It didn't make threats. The next 3 colonies of Varnok approach were found already empty. No trace. No ships. Just a black sphere hovering above the terrain, silent. And the memory of a species that never escalated conflict, because escalation was a concept for lesser civilizations. Humanity didn't retaliate. Humanity didn't rage. Humanity concluded. In the archives of the Terran Strategic Command, a digital file was tagged under the Varnok incident. The file was brief. A timestamp. A fleet designation. A single note from the Dread Harvester's AI. It read, Overkill Protocol. Completed. Hostile deterrence achieved. No survivors engaged. Target comprehension confirmed. Message delivered. And in the black of space, far from stars, 17 ships resumed their silent vigil, waiting not to strike, but to remind. The galaxy had rules, but Earth had its own.